Hello, it's Jill Havens. I'm here doing E-Cubed experiment number 6. I've actually had this done for a few days, but my energy has been super low for the past 4 days, and I finally came out of it. I'm ready to do my video. This was actually a really cool experiment. It's the nature versus news corollary, or why you should really get out more. Yeah, for sure. Just reading some things she wrote about it. What I'd like to suggest in this 3-day experiment is that all the important stuff you need to know is happening right outside your window, right there in your neighborhood, right in your own heart, and that what you pick up from the news media has no real relevance to your life except for the blocks it erects between you and the FP, or the field of possibilities, potentialities, whatever you want to call it. This experiment will prove that news is just one corporation's opinion, more or less irrelevant to your well-being, and that really sharpened together people couldn't care less what newspapers are blathering or newscasters are blathering on about today. The people I admire and hope to emulate know the only thing that really matters is the indestructible joy and pulse of life being broadcast from every tree, every star, every bird on the planet. They know that real life, as opposed to the material stuff the news media places on a vaunted pedestal, is created from being in tune with the universal broadcast, the sacred buzz. By entering into reverent communion with the natural world, and yes, that's the world right outside your window, no need to plan another eco-vacation. You'll be led on wild adventures into magical and invisible realms. This, I'm having trouble reading today. This experiment will show you that real wisdom is readily available when you turn off the bombardment of sensation known as the news by ignoring and discounting things like the stars, the plants, and the sliver of a waxing moon, whose cycles affect everything from tides to fiddler crabs to our sleep habits, blinds us to a major force of energy that we could and should be using in our favor. Being disconnected from the natural world wreaks havoc on our bodies. If we want to create more energy and therefore more bandwidth for a joyful life, we must begin to pay attention to things that matter and let go of all the things that don't. Now, I'll tell you, I have just recently, in the past year or so, really started enjoying nature and birds and all that kind of stuff, and it may seem like foo-foo to some people, but it's really not. You just have to be open to it. And she goes on to say, but here's what I know. What we see in the news media is a tiny speck of reality far removed from true reality. For the next 3 days, you're going to cast your line into the collective knowledge of the universe. You're going to commune with nature, get intimate with the natural world. You're going to take time to listen to the planet and all her creatures, who, despite our constant harassment, still understand balance and the divine equilibrium. Not sure why I highlighted that. Let's see, there was a doctor who, let me just read, Michael Crichton, the Harvard-educated doctor who left medicine to write books and movie screenplays, as well as create TV shows, spent a couple of weeks in the California desert talking to a cactus. In his memoir, Travels, he wrote about a phone-free, drug-free workshop with Joy Brugge, also a doctor, where he learned to meditate, see and move energy, and yes, get guidance from a cactus. The energy work was real. This is what he says. The energy work was real. The meditations were real. But what good was it if you couldn't apply it to your daily life? It wasn't until later when he looked back and saw that within 8 months of returning from the desert, he had changed his relationships, his residence, his work, his diet, his interests, and his goals. In fact, he said, I changed everything in my life that could be changed. These changes were so sweeping that I couldn't see what was happening while I was in the midst of them. You already have inside you everything you've ever wanted or looked for elsewhere. That's a quote by Sarah Avant Stover, author of The Way of the Happy Woman. Call it what you will, but nature/God/the FP has answers to every alleged problem and devastated economy that seems to challenge us. Once we let go of all we think we know and make it our goal to connect to this unlimited, all-knowing, all-loving force, new discoveries and brilliance will rush in from every side. Many Aboriginal people consider the ability to send and receive messages, to communicate and talk with all of nature, no big deal. It isn't a special gift. It's a part of everyday life, as natural and normal as using vocalized language. People who can't access the hum of the universe seem like an anomaly to them, the way we view someone born deaf. Okay, so this is the method of this experiment. For the next 3 days, I'd like you to substitute the time you normally spend watching the news, reading a newspaper, and trawling Facebook with walking around your neighborhood. Don't even think about taking your phone. This is between you and Big Mama Nature. Observe everything and be open to the idea that the plants, trees, and animals in your neighborhood have something important to tell you. Be willing to hear their nonstop vibration that offers all sorts of valuable information. Being in reverent communion with the natural world is actually a path with far more heart. In reality, there's not much you can do about the famine in Africa, except contribute worry and guilt to the universal energy. But there's a lot you can do about your immediate neighborhood. Be present to the sunrise, to the sunset, and every precious moment in between. Listen to the birds. Be open to messages from your pets. Pay close attention to the moon. And if somebody asks you the question I asked at the beginning of this chapter, be prepared with an answer. And her question had something to do with, do you know about the moon and the phases of the moon? And I have become a little bit, I don't want to say obsessed, but I've become really interested about the phase of the moon. In fact, we just passed the new moon. We're in the waxing, I believe, I didn't look today, but we're in the waxing crescent moon phase now, headed towards the full moon. And that's really interesting. So I've been getting to know that a little bit more thanks to this chapter. Let's see, the lab report sheet for this experiment. A vibrating, pulsing field with mystical information is available if I pay attention. Is it possible that I'm seeing and believing in features of life that have no real relevance, and that I'm missing life-changing wisdom and lessons because I'm focused on the wrong things? Is it possible that nature itself has a message for me? The more I'm connected to natural cycles and rhythms, the more energy and bandwidth of joy are available to me. The approach for the next 3 days. I'm going to ban the news media, and yes, Facebook, from my awareness. Instead, I will seek the news from the natural world as I go outside and walk in my neighborhood. I will actively seek and expect an important message. All right. Did I shut off Facebook? No, I did not, because I conduct business on Facebook. But I did not scan for news. I did not. There's a little thing on the side of Facebook that has important news points. And every time I felt my eyes going there, shifted back. I taped the nightly news with David Muir, and I didn't watch that. And that was hard because I like him a lot. So I missed him for a couple nights, but I didn't watch the news. What I did do, the first morning of this experiment, I was opening up my curtains and I noticed the birds out eating at my bird feeder. And for some reason, they're not there every day, but they were there, a bunch of them that first morning. I just sat and watched them, do their thing, eating, jumping along the branches in the tree, and just enjoyed them. I talked to my guinea pigs more. I talk to them a lot anyways. Didn't really get any messages from my little piggies, but I still love them and enjoy them. And my dog, whenever I pet her and hug her, now I'm feeling more of a sense of being connected to more than just what's here. And I had that experience in the park as well. And you're going to maybe think I'm weird. I don't know. I felt called to do something in the park, so I did it. Made sure there wasn't anybody around. But I actually hugged a tree. And as I hugged that tree, I felt the same thing that I felt when I hugged my dog. I felt connected. Actually, more so, because that tree has been around for so long. It was a big, thick tree. And I felt connected to the ground, and, as the roots go out like that, I just felt connected to everything. And I noticed things I've never noticed before. I noticed trees, different peaceful sounds. I noticed birds and even a squirrel, and there was snow out at this point. So I made it a point, and I appreciated the stream, the river, and it was mostly iced over, but there was parts where the river was flowing through, and I didn't take any pictures because I was instructed to leave my phone at home, which I did. And I did receive some messages that very first day as I got to one part of the park. This really cold wind came around, and I just felt like that was the winds of change. I'm in the midst of a big change right now. And it was very uncomfortable, that wind, because it was really cold, but it was exhilarating at the same time. So to me, that was a message saying, the winds of change may not always be comfortable, but they're very exhilarating. So just go with it. And as I kept on walking, I walked past something else that reminded me of my childhood, something I had totally forgotten about. And that kind of made me feel that I needed to spend more time just being present, sitting on my deck, sitting and talking with my kids, not running around 90 miles an hour, doing this, doing that, watching TV, doing this, doing that, to spend some time just being and enjoying life and being present and enjoying the people that I'm with and actually listening to them and conversing with them. Not that I don't, but I need to spend more time doing that. More time away from the computer, away from the TV, just being present. So that was a message. The third day, I brought my dog for a walk in the same park, and we ventured on a different trail that actually took us out into the city and around and back. And as I was still in the nature part, I felt like a tapping sensation on my head, sort of. So I know somebody was there with me, and I said hi. I don't know who it was. I waited for more, but that's all I got. I got about 4 taps. And I also had to walk around the ice on the trail, and that kind of made me think, I'm going to run up against some obstacles, just find a way around every one of them. And then we walked out into the city, noisy city, it was so totally different. And we walked around and came back, and we're coming back into nature, and it was such a feeling of peace. Oh, peace, quiet. I mean, you just have to enjoy that when you have it and appreciate it, because, man, it just felt like such a big difference to me. I probably won't take that path again because it was so much nicer staying in the peace. But as I did that, as I was walking back into peace, I was walking past a ramp that goes onto one of our highways, and a car passed me, and it's the car I want. I'm like, here it is, there's my car. And it wasn't the exact color, but it was very close, and I never see that color. I really want a Dodge Charger with a spoiler on the back, and I never see the exact color with a spoiler that I want. In fact, I want a midnight blue one, and I hardly ever see a blue Charger. And this was a blue one. It was a darker blue. It wasn't midnight blue, but it was still a darker blue and had that beautiful spoiler on the back. I'm like, yes, that's a sign I'm getting close. I'm getting closer and closer and closer. So that was really cool. So anyways, that was my experience. And I tell you, when you go out and enjoy nature, it's just, don't take your phone with you. I mean, if you have to take it to check the time, put it on silence. There's something so calming and so peaceful about being out in nature. And I used to not enjoy walks as much. I would always be listening to something. But, I'm listening to something all the time. It's nice just to get away and breathe and listening to the sounds of nature. It's really just really calming and really, I just think everybody needs it to get back to your source and back to what's important. And before I end this, there was another little thing that I highlighted on here that I'm going to read. The facts I now choose to report are that happiness is our birthright, that love is the only reality, and that the only reason facts sometimes look otherwise is because that's what we've spent so many years focusing on. I know now that it's unproductive to talk about, report on, or give attention to anything I don't want. And any time I don't feel joyful and at peace is because I'm giving attention to something that disagrees with my source. To use the old radio analogy, I've tuned in to an oldie station that still believes in pain and suffering. So it's very important to get away from that. Only do and talk about things that make you happy, and you will be really surprised of the changes that will come over your life when you just focus on being happy. So that's it. Experiment number 6 was a success. It was great. Made me want to be out in nature more and realize some important things. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.